In this video, we are going to look at the most common ways of getting your teaching degree. The first way is the traditional method, which is probably the route that most of you are taking, which basically you're getting your general classes your first 2 years. Most of you probably here at Garden City Community College, getting your psychology, your algebra class, your science classes, your English classes, getting those first 2 years of gen ed classes out of the way. And then your next step will be to be accepted into an education program at a university. And so in order to do that, you're going to have to decide, are you going to do elementary education or are you going to do secondary education? And then there will be requirements for getting into those programs. Most of them require things like the Foundations of Ed class, which is the class that you're enrolled in right now, maybe an observations class where you have to get out into the classroom a little bit. They'll usually require either you to write a personal essay or maybe just answer some questions, sometimes do an interview, some different things like that to be accepted into their program. Part of that will probably also include the basic skills test, which will test you in reading, writing, and math to make sure you have the basic skills to become a teacher. And so then once you're accepted into their program, you will focus on learning content. If you're in secondary education, most of your classes will be whatever field you choose. If you choose math, then most of your classes will be in content of the area of math. And then you'll have some methods classes as well. Elementary teachers, you're going to get all subjects with a lot of methods classes. Methods classes are classes that teach you how to teach, basically. What are good ways of teaching students so that they can learn? So then once you work through that degree program for the area that you chose, you will complete your bachelor's degree. Part of that process will include student teaching, which is where you go and work with a mentoring teacher in their classroom. It will depend on the university that you choose. Most of them are a semester long. Some of the programs do a year-long student teaching internship. Once you complete that, you'll have your bachelor's degree, and everybody will has to pass the Principles of Learning and Teaching test, which basically is looking at the psychology of education and working with students. It will be either an elementary or a secondary ELT test. And then you'll also have to pass your content test. So if you were doing secondary math, you have to pass the math content test. If you were doing English, you'll have to pass the English content test. If you're doing elementary, it'll be all subjects at the elementary level. Some of you will take more than one content test, depending on areas that you're going to be certified in. So if you have special education, you'd have a special education content test for the grade levels that you would be wanting to work with. If you, some of you may have elementary education, but then you have endorsements so that you could also teach maybe middle school math or science or reading. And so you would also have content tests in those areas as well. Our book in this chapter also introduces us to the idea of alternative licensure, which it was kind of created in response to the demand for teachers. Pretty much every state has their own alternative licensure program set up. These are teachers or people that become teachers without completing the teacher education programs that we just talked about. Usually within the state, they have to hold a bachelor's degree in an area related to what they're teaching. Then they will complete the education or the methods classes as they're teaching. And so they have a degree, but it's just not in the field of teaching. And so they decide they want to be a teacher, so they will work on completing those education courses and getting their teaching degree as they're teaching. They don't hold it before that. And so there's lots of controversy of whether or not this is a good thing or a bad thing. Know that it is happening because of the demand for teachers, because we need teachers out there in the field, and there are not enough applying. And so This is a way to maybe help or an alternative way to approach that. We will be looking more at this topic as we go through the semester at different points. So you might go ahead and start looking at what are some of the controversies, what are the positives, what are the negatives to go along with this way of getting your teaching degree.